Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 19th May 2017. The first article, Ending the Nuclear Dependency. This article was written in the context of India's recent decision to manufacture 10 indigenous pressurized heavy water reactors. Let us know the history of nuclear trade of India. You know that initially India was dependent on United States of America, Russia, Canada for its nuclear reactors. And then India also indigenously has developed and mastered the pressurized heavy water reactor technology. And also we developed the prototype fast breeder reactor as of now. So in this case, India and US in 2005, when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was in power, they signed for a nuclear deal. This has provided for a nuclear cooperation, and then it was extended to the other countries too. And after that, India also has got the NSG waiver to get uranium supplies from various countries. So, this has made India to enter into nuclear commerce. But however, there were certain objections to US, France, and other countries with regard to the liability law. So, who shall be responsible in case of an accident is the question before them. Finally, the issue was resolved as India passed a nuclear liability law in which it also has created an India insurance pool which is going to take away the risk from the suppliers. The major companies that intended to supply the nuclear reactors to India are Westinghouse in United States of America and then Areva, it's a company of France. Westinghouse, it has developed a new model that is called AP1000, which is 1400 megawatt nuclear reactor. And then Areva has an EPR nuclear reactor which is 1600 megawatt. So if you take the history of these companies, these are multinational companies, but their history is all about cost overruns and delays. So Westinghouse has taken up 2 projects of AP1000 in China and 2 reactors in USA. They did not move forward. And Westinghouse was brought by Toshiba, and finally Toshiba also went into losses. Westinghouse recently filed bankruptcy in the United States of America. And second is coming to Areva, it is also at the verge of closure, and Mitsubishi has its investments in Areva. And second is the Fukushima in Japan nuclear accident. It has led to a negative attitude towards the nuclear energy altogether. So this Fukushima nuclear accident has dented the nuclear commerce across the world. And these 2 companies are the major victims of the same. So various nuclear deals and agreements signed with nuclear suppliers if considered, India has received only VVR 1000 variety nuclear reactors from Russia. And nothing has been materialized as of now from United States of America or from France, from Areva or Westinghouse. So in this context, India wanted to develop its own pressurized heavy water reactors, which are of 700 megawatts. So India mastered this technology. So India developing its own indigenized Indian pressurized heavy water reactors can bring India also into nuclear commerce. India being a net importer of the nuclear reactors too, it can become a net exporter of the nuclear reactors. So that's what a nuclear energy self-sufficiency, this is what the author talks about. So this is happening for good. That's what author says about. Now, as alternative energy sources are coming up, which can be deployed on a smaller scale and instantaneously can produce for energy, to what extent it is advised to go for nuclear energy is the question. Because the nuclear energy is cheap, there is no doubt about it. But the establishment cost, capital requirements to establish the nuclear reactors is huge. So that's why, to what extent, if you take the risk of nuclear accidents, you consider to what extent it is good for us. That's what is another question the nuclear experts are posing to us. The courts and matter of faith. So this article is written in the context of triple talaq. You know that Article 25 of the Constitution provides for freedom of conscience. And is this conscience and faith are one and the same? The author debates that they are not. The freedom of conscience is an individual understanding of his own self. So it exists at the individual level. So what the author says is every conscience can be a belief, but every belief cannot be called as a conscience. So in this context, a belief involves a group. So when it is involving a group, you cannot equate that with a conscience. So Article 25 provides only for freedom of conscience, but not freedom of belief. If you take the constitutional debates also, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has clearly stated that religious beliefs are subjected to constitutional morality. They can be amended by the parliament. And second thing is, whatever the protection which is given in our constitution, it applies only to the core beliefs or principles of a religion, not to every belief. So that from that perspective, the triple talaq can be subjected to judicial scrutiny and also for parliamentary oversight and constitutional morality. That's what is the argument in this article. Upheld at The Hague. It is about Kulbhushan Jadhav's case. You know that India has taken the matters to International Court of Justice with Harish Salve arguing for India. In this case, ICJ has admitted the case and has provided for a temporary halt in its execution. And it has also said that the Pakistan shall take every step for not executing the Kulbhushan Jadhav. So theoretically, it may not be binding on Pakistan. But however, Pakistan can get the retribution of the global communities and countries if it goes ahead and takes forward the execution. And Pakistan argument over here is this. The India and Pakistan engagement is more guided by the relationships of 2008 agreement. So the 2008 agreement shall be the root cause, but it shall be the basis for engagement. So India is imposing Vienna Convention. So Pakistan says that this particular case do not come under the Vienna Convention as both the countries have a bilateral agreement. ICJ has clarified further that there is no provision which states that espionage do not come under Vienna Convention. So, on the humanitarian and human rights grounds, the ICJ's decision is a welcoming sign. But however, this is just a provisional recommendation, but final decision is still awaited. Now coming to the where the jobs are. This editorial is written in the context of yesterday's Aravind Subramanian statement. What he stated is, India is facing an unemployment unless we achieve 8 to 10% of the growth rate and revival of infrastructure, IT and agricultural sector, this unemployment cannot be solved for. And if you take the Niti Aayog, it from time to time stated that more than the unemployment, underemployment is the problem. And in the same newspaper, the Labour Minister, Mr. Dattatreya, what he stated is this. India is about to come with a new employment policy which emphasizes on formal employment. And it emphasizes on formalization of employment, bringing more people into employment fold from informal to formal sector. So in this, what will work out for India? So you know that India is going through a jobless phase of growth. And this can be possible if we do not make our growth inclusive. At the same time, once you create the jobs, they shall not become stagnant. If they become stagnant, it manifests as underemployment. So that is the reason why we need to take a series of steps over here. The first is, we shall achieve the growth, and this growth also simultaneously shall lead to improvements in productivity and modernization of labor force. And labor reforms are also very critical for the formalization of employment. Government's expenditure shall be on asset and job creating areas. If you take infrastructure, it creates the assets and also the jobs. So that's what this article talks about. Let's go to the open-it page. Should Hindi be the sole official language? You know the history of India and its language crisis. But how we managed our language problem, it can be an example for the world how diversity needs an accommodation of different interests. Let me put it again. A diversity needs accommodation of different opinions and interests. Then only country will move forward as an organic whole. So in this case, official language, Hindi was declared. And in 1965, there was an anti-Hindi agitation because Official Languages Act is almost tried to impose Hindi on the South Indians. So there is an anti-Hindi agitation and Tamil Nadu is the spear point or central focal point for this. And second is, the Mr. Ramaswamy or else Periyar is it is Annadurai. He was the person who spearheaded the movement. If you remember in 1965, Tamil Nadu even has boycotted the January 26th, the Republic Day celebrations. So finally, the Lal Bahadur Shastri government has brought in a middle path and it got settled. I'm not going much into that particular language crisis of India. Now let's confine here ourselves to the article. Should Hindi be the sole official language? As of now, the official languages are English and Hindi. What is the promise the South Indians got is English will be continued as long as they wish to continue the same. So why do we need Hindi? We can set the argument this way. One is governance perspective. The other one is identity and diversity perspective. When I see it from governance perspective, integration perspective, a link language is necessary. So Hindi is expected to act as a link language for communication between various states, between people in India. And Hindi is also spoken by majority of the population. And third is, as of now, the migration has increased. Interstate migration has increased. It also has brought in new challenges to the education system. Now let's take, if you go to any school in Delhi, you have the people from Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi, Bihar, UP, from everywhere. Then how these children have to be taught without having a link language? These are the questions that are being posed. And also here it has been suggested is, recognizing Hindi as an official language shall not be considered as a disrespect to the other languages. It is just for an administrative convenience. Now what are the counter arguments to this? The southern states are better progressed over a period of time. So in spite of lack of a common language, they are able to show a remarkable progress. And governance indicators also are reported to be better in southern states. It is because use of the local language in administration, it definitely provides an advantage and better connect with the people. And second, among 29 states, 20 states do not speak Hindi in India. It means that Hindi may be spoken by large population in few states, but majority of the states do not speak Hindi in India. Even in Hindi, there are many dialects. Today, Maithili language protection movement is going on, and there is also a separate state demand on the basis of that. So it means we cannot construct Hindi as a monolithic. It also has its own diversities within. So managing these all diversities is not possible. And the present system has worked for these many years. Why to tweak the system? And also Hindu communalism is associated with Hindi as a language. So in those circumstances, it may not or it may be a threat to the unity of India if Hindi is being imposed on the other people. So you have seen the Bengal nationalism, how it has come up in the erstwhile Pakistan. So anywhere language has been tinkered beyond a point, a nationalistic sentiment can crew up. So that's why we need to be careful. And in this case, there is a beautiful statement which has been used. That is, the unity of India is guarded by its diversity, not by its cultural fencing. So cultural fencing has to be avoided by making the Hindi as the official language. That is one point which I like the most over here. in the Lok Sabha's ambit. So does triple talaq come into the Lok Sabha ambit? Can it be subjected to constitutional morality? Remember here, the Article 25 of the Constitution is not absolute. And also Article 25 is not going to protect every belief of a religion. It's only going to confine itself to the essential credentials and aspects of a particular religious practice. That's what it has been stated. Now let's come to the news. ICJ stays Jadhav execution. Already we have discussed that. Various sectors, what are the rates? The GST Council has determined the rates for most of the commodities. So let us see commercial coaching at what rate it is going to be taxed. NSCN IM is on a recruitment spree. You know that India and NSCN, so National Socialistic Council of Nagaland, Isaac Muvaya, they have come into a framework agreement. Though it was not revealed to us, it has been criticized that it has provided for a new ground for the NSCN IM to become active. And then Zomato hacked. So data of 17 million users stolen. So here, what are the data protection rights of citizens? India do not have a data policy till date. So these are the problems over here. Now let's get into the news page. You all know that again, there is one thing, Hazare bats for right to recall legislators. So, Anna Hazare, he is looking for a direct democracy instrument to be implemented in India, which is called right to recall. But obviously, it has its own challenges. So, you know that instability can come up due to right to recall. And in such a large country such as India, can right to recall be practiced? Is it feasible? And he also makes a comment on Nota. Nota is incomplete. Because only the number of votes, how much are being polled for Nota can be calculated. There is no consequential action beyond that. Now let's get into the second thing, that is news page. You know that new bill to deter offenders' escape is coming up. So what is the purpose of this particular bill? It wants to prohibit, it is called Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill 2017. So it wants to avoid the embarrassing situations like Vijay Mallya to India. And then coming to world page, China invokes Panchashil. So you know that at Belt and Road Forum, Chinese President Xi Jinping here spoke about Panchashil. So what are the elements of a Panchashil? So it is for mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, non-interference in others' territorial aspects or other internal aspects, and then equality and mutual benefit, peaceful coexistence. These are the various 5 things which are part of Panchashil. So Mr. Xi, he stated that so China is going to execute Belt and Road Initiative on the foundations of these 5 principles. Now let's revise the notes of the day. So ending the nuclear dependency, only carry home point is this. India, by developing and strengthening the indigenous nuclear industry, it is going to develop in nuclear commerce or nuclear trade. So India is going to become an important player in nuclear reactor building. That's what is the article talks about. The courts and matters of faith. In this, it has been stated that faith and conscience cannot be one and the same. So Article 25 need not protect all different kinds of faith, but any matter of conscience can be a matter of faith, but reverse is not true. And then let's go to ICJ issue. So in spite of the Pakistan's argument that India need not get the consular access under Vienna Convention, ICJ agreed to provide the consular access and stayed the execution of Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav, India's former naval officer. Where the jobs are. So you know that a jobless growth is the present problem along with underemployment and informalization of the economy. So in these circumstances, what the government has to do, growth is necessary. Growth along with the productivity is necessary. And then you need to have the government investments going into strong areas, especially growth related areas. Next is the should Hindi be the official language? We have discussed the pros and cons over here. Hindi is the largest spoken language, and English is not a mother tongue and not a common language, and many people do not know. And as migration has increased, a common link language has to be developed so that instructions can be given in the schools and colleges. On counter argument, in a globalized world, English has led to greater employment. And second thing is, in southern states, they may not be convenient with imposition of imposition of Hindi. And the next is the cultural fencing is a disrespect to the diversity of the country. Hindi is also not uniform. There are many dialects, and there are separate movements also in the Artland, like Maithili movement to protect the same. So these are the various aspects which we need to remember. Thank you very much and all the best.